Hello, and welcome back to A2 Politics. So, I am a fish right now, clearly, and I have something very important to tell you. Water is wet. So, here is why. And warning, I am going to be very pretentious with this because I think it's fun. The only prerequisite for determining whether water is wet is in knowing exactly what wetness is. What is the nature of wetness? There are two prevailing ways of understanding some object or quality's nature: a definitional or analytical account, wherein the nature is rigorously and precisely understood by the very nature of definitional accounts, such as, for example, the nature of a bachelor is to be unmarried, or an empirical account. In an empirical account, we cannot be as precise methodologically. Rather, we must accept that there is at least one specific thing to which a specific object or quality can accurately be called, and at least one specific thing for which it cannot be called, and that the boundaries are then reasoned and perceived. Accounts which fail to include every necessary piece or exclude every demonstrably non-fitting piece are rejected. Because wetness is not an object, but rather a quality, and it's rather not the definition of the word we are analyzing, but rather attempting to create a definition from experiential results, we must take an empirical account. Specifically, we must assess water phenomenologically. It is, at its core, something we experience. Although any definition must be applied to non-subjective experiences, such as the very question we are asking involving water, any accurate definition must also conform precisely to our subjective experience. If there is a quality of wetness, and we say that there is, anything that produces the same quality of experience must also be wet, and anything that does not cannot be wet. What, then, is the phenomenological account of wetness? The quintessential experience is putting your hand in water, which I'm not going to do because this is my drinking water. This produces the experience of wetness. But why? To assess, we can ask if one feature of this action applies equally across others. If there is an example of wetness wherein that feature is not present, then it cannot be the deciding factor. To start, does it have to be water? Clearly not. Put your hand in oil and it produces wetness. Or if one somehow disagrees that oil can be considered wet, you may put your hand in alcohol or deuterium or hydrogen peroxide. All produce wetness. Does it then have to be a hand? Clearly not. A foot would do the same. Must it be biological? Again, clearly not. A damp towel we would still describe as wet. There is a potential for dissent here, though. It may be argued that the towel itself is not wet, but rather we experience wetness through the water on it. This would position wetness as exclusively a phenomenological quality. However, although it is certainly true that the actual experience of wetness is purely experiential, it doesn't necessarily follow that it can only ever be accurately used to express an experiential state, rather than an adjective. And while the former cannot be ruled out, it requires substantial evidence over the latter that I just do not see present. Water, alcohol, etc. are all fluids. Perhaps it is that it must be a fluid. Imagine contact with ice. Is this experience that of wetness? No, unless some of the solid ice melts into a fluid water, whereupon it becomes wet. But is fluidity sufficient? Clearly not. Hydrogen on its own is not wet, yet it is a fluid. We may ask then of liquid specifically. This is by far the most interesting hypothesis, yet it is still disproven. Though it is not safe to handle, and this should not be attempted at home under any circumstances, you can stick your finger in liquid mercury. I am not going to do so, not because I wouldn't, but because I don't own liquid mercury. The experience of it does not produce wetness. It is a dry liquid, as the word is being used in absentia of wetness. There is one more quality of water which we have not covered that can be teased out by examining hydrophobic materials. That is, materials which repel or do not mix with water. This does not necessarily mean it cannot come into contact with water, inasmuch that any sort of molecular or atomic contact is possible, though that certainly is sometimes the case. Take a square of hydrophobic cloth. If water is poured onto it, there will be equivalent contact, such as if this were conducted with a hydrophilic cloth. Yet, the hydrophobic cloth remains dry, and if you touch it, you will find that it is dry. Once the puddle is removed, there is no more water on the cloth. The same phenomenon occurs when you put your finger in mercury. When removed, all of the mercury will fall off. Yet, performing this with water, when you pull your finger out, water will remain. It will cling. This holds true for every instance of wetness I am aware of. The fundamental difference between wetness and non-wetness is whether the substance in question clings to the object it is wetting. This is not the only criteria. It is necessary but insufficient, precisely because several solids may cling to us, yet they do not produce wetness either. Thus, both clinginess and fluidity are necessary and, when together, sufficient to produce the quality of wetness. So what now can be said of water itself? Most commonly, it is in liquid form as we experience it. And importantly, it clings to itself. Water molecules are slightly polarized, having stronger negative charge on one side and stronger positive charge on the other. This is what provides water with its clinginess to most objects and also other water molecules. Water weakly electromagnetically binds to itself as it does our skin. Water is, thus, wet. Just like your mom.